Hey there, Pixel Paisanos. It's the Super TechOdyssey Super Show. Anyway, I'll take that back off real quick. Haven't put that on in a while. But I got the Pixel 6 here today. I want to talk about it because the phone's been out for about 5 months now, which just completely doesn't even seem natural, right? It came out, I believe it launched on October the 27th. I got mine about a week beforehand because of the Team Pixel program, all that jazz. Actually, that was the Pixel 6 Pro. This is a Pixel 6 that I bought with my own money. Looking at it now, 5 months later, is this a phone that you should go out and consider buying? Because we all know there have been problems. And of course, there's the Pixel Illuminati who believe there's been no problems with it whatsoever. They've had a completely perfect experience with their phone and believe that everybody's making it up, that the reviewers were overly harsh on it, and that people are just complaining and nitpicking. And then you have the real people who have been experiencing these problems, which of course I think it is a small subset of people at this point. Largely a lot of issues got fixed with the January update, but it's not been the most enjoyable or smooth ride since this phone came out. And then of course when they put out the last update, they killed a bunch of people's Wi-Fi. And it's very frustrating because I hear on a daily basis, in my videos, people complaining about how they still don't have Wi-Fi and hope that the next patch will fix that. Of course, it's supposed to. Whenever the March update gets here, which of course it didn't get launched on the first Monday of the month, like it did on the Pixel 3a, 4, and 5 and those phones. So, at $599, and of course $899 for the Pro, you get the more expanded camera capability, the bigger screen, the 120 hertz, all that jazz. But today we're going to talk about the Pixel 6. Should you consider buying at this point? Is it still worth it? Has Google done enough to fix it and smoothen out the process to make it a worthwhile endeavor? Because I still get people that are like, okay, I've been waiting. Should I go buy one? And I felt really bad having to say, yes, I believe in the phone. I like the phone. But then having to throw the caveat out there saying, if you have problems, take it back. And I really, on a good conscience, have a hard time saying, you should buy this phone, but then if you have problems, you should take it back. And that's a hard thing to say. And I don't think there's very many other phones in the history of the world that I would ever say something about that. But this one, the Pixel 6, I think is a very good phone. Other than the fingerprint sensor, which is still maddening. Some days it wants to work fine. Here lately, mine has been a lot more laggy. I don't know if maybe I need to clear out the cache or what's going on. Sometimes it works good, and then sometimes it's still a laggy experience. So at least the accuracy has gotten better. Before it was an accuracy and a laggy thing, but using the phone, being basically an ambassador for the phone because I like it. I went out and I bought it with my own money. I've told people, hey, especially people coming over from BlackBerry phones, this is probably the best phone to switch over to. And at $599, with the Tensor chip, with the Pixel camera, with the stock Android experience, which normally that's a selling point, other than the fact that the Android 12 experience with One UI on the Samsung phones has gone better than the straight-up Android experience on the Pixel, which is supposed to be the best. Now, I do enjoy it. I think from a power and a performance perspective, it's very, very good. It's basically indistinguishable from the Snapdragon 888. It is a little bit behind on the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1. The GPU is actually pretty good, though. And it's good for gaming, other than the fact that it does burn up battery more. They still, at least from my perspective, have not got it optimized enough where it gets kind of hot. When you use the video camera, when you use GPS, whenever you're playing games, there are certain instances where it will get pretty warm, and then the battery life will start to degrade pretty darn quick. It does have a 4600 milliamp battery, which is pretty good for a phone this size, 6.4 inch, 90 hertz refresh rate. I like the design. I have never been excited about a Pixel phone. Never. Before this phone. I buy them and I test them out, but I've been on Team Pixel since the Pixel 5, and that's cool. I like them well enough. I think they make decent phones, but I gotta tell you, never been impressed. I didn't like the build quality. I didn't like the whole plastic stuff. I didn't like the big notch, the big divot in the Pixel 3. I didn't like that there was no fingerprint sensor on the Pixel 4 and the battery life was terrible. They didn't put in a big enough battery. They charged too much money. The Pixel 5 was a step back because it wasn't a real flagship phone. It's like every time Google puts out a phone, there's always something that keeps it from being great. And this time, it wasn't the phone. It was the software. And I like the way it looks. I like the RoboCop camera bar on the back. I like that it doesn't wobble when you place it down on the table. I like that the battery life is pretty much okay as long as you don't do GPS and play games or leave the camera on too long. I do get about 6 hours of screen on time with the Pixel 6, which I think is perfectly fine. I like the colors. I like the way it looks. I think that it brings a lot of value if you're interested in getting something like this, because at $599, it's good. Now, if they charge $799 for this, I'd have a lot more heartburn over it. But since they brought it in at $599 and so severely undercut the rest of the flagship competition, it makes it a conversation starter, even if it does have some bugs and some issues, which largely have been worked out, other than a handful of people out there, I think, still experiencing Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity issues. The February patch was supposed to fix the Bluetooth issues. It did for some people, and then it started shutting people's Wi-Fi off. So it's been something every month since this phone has come out. And of course, there was a lot of fanfare when it came out. A lot of people were saying phone of the year, before they even got it. There was so much hype surrounding this because, of course, it also got the new camera setup in it. And the new camera setup is pretty good, as long as you don't want to take pictures up too close, because, well, then it gets all blurry because the sensor is so big. So yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag there. But overall, I think it takes really good pictures, and it's a good phone. It's the best video camera capabilities that Pixel has ever had in its phone. The speakers are good. It's got dual stereo speakers. It's got wireless charging. It's got everything that you could ask for, other than a completely flawless experience, which of course we're chasing that level of perfection that we should have expected from the get-go, and here we are 5 months later. It's not 100% ironed out. So if you were to ask me, should I go buy one, I think it's probably still something that I would recommend. Now, it's a little bit harder to digest at $899 with the Pixel 6 Pro. I'm a much bigger advocate for the Pixel 6 than I am for the Pro. The telephoto is nice, but it's not the most amazing in the world. If you really care about telephoto photography, I would say go get the S22 Ultra, because it's got amazing reach out and touch stuff with that 100 times zoom and the 108 megapixel camera. But again, that's an $1199 phone. The Pixel 6 Pro at $899 is very competitive, especially considering it's $100 cheaper than the S22 Plus. It's several $100s cheaper than the S22 Ultra, and it's even several $100s cheaper than the iPhone 13 Pro. So that dollar figure argument does go a long way. I still gotta say, I think it's a safe enough and decent enough phone to go buy. If we were still in the dark ages of December and January, I would have a lot more hesitation about it. Of course, going back to the beginning, yes, if you get one that's a dud, then definitely take it back. And I've talked to some people who are like, I'm on my third Pixel 6 and I'm still having problems. Or they're like, I'm on my third Pixel 6 and they finally fixed it. They got me a good one. I don't know if it's a bad batch of maybe chips that are in there. I don't know if there's some inconsistency in the quality control. I don't know if it's an underlying hardware issue that's causing the software issues, because, of course, they should by and large have the same software experience. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense that the Wi-Fi is not working on one, but it is on the other. Or the Bluetooth's not working on one, but it is on the other. And the other driving force in making this video, as the S22 has come out, I've had so many people who are like, I'm fed up with the Pixel 6. I'm going to go get an S22, and I don't blame them. If you had that level of problems, I wouldn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. If my phone signal wasn't working for a month and a half before they got it fixed, I would have returned in the first place and never looked back. So thankfully, I didn't have that level of problems with mine, but some people have. So, and I have to highlight that here, and I have to discuss that. And I also have to say that most people's phones aren't having problems. They just aren't. Maybe that was the case months ago, but now that we're so far into March, maybe there might be a fraction, maybe 2%. Maybe, I don't know what the number is. But by and large, I think it's a safe phone. I think it's an enjoyable phone. I think it's the best Pixel that's ever been made. I think if you like Google Pixel phones, it's a very attractive phone at a very attractive price point with some very attractive features. So at $599, I still say I think it's a good phone, and I think that it's worth buying. And I'm going to put the caveat out there, and I really hate saying this, but it seems to be the fact of the matter that there are just some dud units out there that have problems. So if you happen to get one of those, don't deal with Google. Don't deal with their worst in the world support system. Don't deal with the headache of trying to talk to somebody and get a hold of a live person. Take the sucker back immediately and either wash your hands of it or grab another one. And that's just the reality of the situation. And by and large, probably 99 out of 100 purchases is going to be a good one. I think that they just had some bad batch that they didn't filter out, or they just decided to put out there anyway. But overall, I'm still very much Team Pixel. I'm very much Team Pixel 6. I love this phone. I very much enjoy it, and I think they made substantial... If they didn't have those software issues, people would still be singing the praises of this phone like they were in the beginning. But unfortunately, a lot of those guys, they get it before, as soon as the phone comes out, and then the iPhone comes out, and they go, okay, let me get the iPhone, or the Samsung comes out. That's the hard thing with tech enthusiasts and tech reviewers. A lot of guys don't stick with the phones for a long time. And of course, my SIM card hasn't been in mine recently because I've been testing so many. I've got the S22, the S22 Plus, the S22 Ultra. I got all these phones, so it's hard for me to sit there and use this one all the time. But I got to say, it's worth it. I got to say, I think it's a very enjoyable phone. It's the very first Pixel I've ever been excited about, and at $599, that gets me more excited than anything because it's such a good phone for that price. And I hope that they can still get some of the heat issues ironed out. I hope that as they program and get more optimization for this tensor chip that's in here, that will get better. Because definitely when you do play some games, when you do use especially the video camera, especially on 4K, when you do use the GPS, it can get kind of toasty, and that kind of rubs me the wrong way because it seems like they didn't learn any lessons from the Pixel 5 when it was having issues. Now, this one doesn't overheat and shut down. This one I have never experienced where it overheats so much the camera stops functioning and has to cool off, but it definitely gets toasty. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, if you found it helpful, if you generally just like watching me sit here and talk, then please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.